What is the best way to cultivate a growth mindset in our kids? I'm Will Mosley. I have 5 boys, soon to be 6 boys in March. Let's go. I've been working on self-development, improving myself since probably the age of 12, probably before that. Since my mom passed, I've always been looking to improve and build and build and build and build. I've had a whole career of, 15 years plus as a creative director, helping $1 million businesses make more millions. I'm now currently self-employed, doing the thing, operating my own web agency, and then also building out a YouTube channel to talk about the things that I'm passionate about most: parenting, business, self-development, right? So without further ado, before we jump in, we're at 98% right now on the people that are not yet subscribed to the channel that watch this regularly. If you can please click the subscribe button, it will mean the world to me. The goal is 50%. So do that now, please. All right, we're going to be talking about what's the best way to foster a growth mindset in my kids. I think the best way we can do this is a little hack that I call dad class, okay? Talked about this a little bit before, but I had this moment. I'm gonna jump into a little bit of a side note on mortality for a second, okay? One of my biggest fears, the biggest fear that I've had pretty much since being a parent is like dying, not like the idea of like, oh man, I'm gonna have a horrific death, but like dying and then my kids not being okay, right? Dying and not my wife not being okay. And maybe a lot of like men maybe feel this because we feel as though, we're trying to take care of the family and provide security and all this stuff. And so that's been a huge fear in the back of my mind. The big tiger just fucking chasing me nonstop every day of my life, okay? And so with that, I had a realization this year after listening to a lot of wealth books, a lot of, money, finance, financial literacy books, about what a lot of times happens when you do actually get a good bit of money and then you do pass it down to your kids. Like how does that actually work? And usually how that affects relationships and stuff like that. Because I had this mindset that I had the world on my back, and if I peace out, my wife's not going to be okay, my kids aren't going to be okay, they're going to have to suffer through like being poor. Like I came straight from the hood, straight from the projects. Like we're making syrup sandwiches in this bitch. Like I came from the dirt. And I knew what that was like to be in the projects, guns going off, all that shit. Making sure you make it inside before, the lights come on. Because, like, that's when some crazy shit be happening. Going through life, not only ultra poor, but my dad being locked up. All of my high school years, or all of my childhood years, all the way up until me graduating. My mom dying, you know what I mean? So pretty much just fucking orphaned. So I know what it's like to not have a parent. I know what it's like, when you go to college, right? And everyone's like, I'm gonna go back home to go see my parents. And you're just like, okay. I know what that fucking felt like. It felt miserable. It felt terrible. And so it makes sense that I have this whole fear around the idea that, like, if I peace out too early, I'm only 35. Like, I'll get to like 80. I'm not, anything past 80 is a fucking like a bonus. Like we got 4 chapters in our life. We got, 0 to 20, 20 to 40, 40 to 60, and 60 to, 80. After that, that's, if we're making it past that, that's great. But, we're 35. We're almost out of this chapter 2. You know what I mean? We got 2 more chapters left. Almost. And so that shit would scare me. Because I know that the things that I do today are because of the mistreatment, the misguidance, the lack of from my childhood. And so as I'm listening to these books though, it's actually helping me unlock a little bit about what money is actually used for. We work our entire lives for money, but then a lot of times we don't even realize what we're using the money for. Money, time is money and money is time. That's all it is, right? So for instance, I'm going to work today, right? I'm working right now, but I'm going to work like income generation. This is asset building, so this is different. I'm going to work today in exchange my time, for money. But what does that money actually translate to? Okay? That money typically translates to, if we look at the biggest bills on our list, our mortgage, our electric, our car, okay? So what are those things doing? The mortgage or the rent is your house. Your ability to stay somewhere and not stay on the street. Your electric allows you the convenience of being able to, have hot water and all the things in this house. That's all that is. Your car provides you the transportation most times to get back and forth to work so you can make money, okay? Obviously you can use those things for different things, but that's really what it is. So I'm going to work exchanging my 8 hours of time or 7 hours of time or whatever. I then get paid a certain amount of money for the day. I then go over to my mortgage, and my mortgage is like, hey, as long as you pay us money, we'll allow you to stay here for another 30 days. That's pretty much it. So my money is really buying time in my house. Interesting, right? You're exchanging your time for money, and then the money allows you time. Okay, same thing with if you're self-employed, right? You work, but then you get sick, or you want to have fun with your family. But if you aren't working enough, you have not made enough money, you haven't exchanged enough of your time for money, then you can't actually take a day off. And then what is a day off? A day off is just time. Time that you don't have to work. You're exchange. So we'll jump more into burn rate and all that stuff later. But the idea is that a big fear of me, and we'll come back. This is coming back to our question really about what's the best way to foster growth mindset in my kids. Coming back to this as a kid, and now an adult, like I struggled with because I'm the sole provider of our house, very traditional. So if I'm not working, then what happens, right? Everything falls apart. And that's all that translates to our kids not having enough, etc., etc., etc. But I had a breakthrough as I'm listening to these books about what most kids want, what most people actually want is time from their parents, right? What I wanted more than anything, my mom was never there, right? She was always working because she was a single mom. Dad locked up, and so she had to work long hours, lots of that stuff. And so I kind of feel robbed on my childhood because I didn't really see my mom that much. Or when I saw my mom, a lot of times, like she'd have a couple of times, but she was tired. She was stressed. Or we were, getting whoopings and stuff like that. And so I didn't have the best time with my mom. I don't have many memories that I remember where I just like everything was like, that was just great. And so what I realized with my fear is that I can actually give my kids time today, every day. I'm not promised tomorrow. I'm not promised any of that. Who knows what's going to happen? But every single day I can show up and I can give my kids my time, my energy, my focus. I can give them all of that. My education. Everything that I have learned, I can give to them. So like everyone wants to give their kids money, but money doesn't do anything but but give the kids, this consumerism habit where it's like, oh, I have this money, now I'm going to go buy it on Paw Patrol. And I'm not saying at all that don't buy toys for your kids and have fun. Like, we literally just got through Christmas. Had a great time. But there's more than just giving them things. You can give them your time. You can give them your knowledge. You can give them your energy. You can give them your focus. So like, things are just one of the things, but I actually would prefer to give them these things. I feel like these things have way more leverage. Like Paw Patrol toy, you know, it'll provide a little bit of fun and fulfill, you know, a little bit of fun for a little bit. But like, what's gonna what do you look back on? Do you look back at like you look back at some of the fun times that you've had? But I imagine that if our parents did better and prioritized us every single day and gave us real good attention, real good, valuable every day, we'd have a lot more memories, there'd be a lot more there. I definitely didn't have that. And so I feared that I need to work to make sure that I have money for the security of my family. And then one day soon, when I don't have to work so much, I'll be able to give them the time that this security provides. Flawed. It's flawed because I can work. I can still give them the time. I can give them the knowledge and education today. I can make these videos, right? I make videos because it helps you guys, but like, my kids are subscribed to my channel. They be watching me. And so, silly enough, like, if I peace out, they're able to still hear dad and the lessons that dad wants to pass on. And I think that's something really cool. So, with all that being said, coming back to, you know, mindset and growth for our kids, I think most of us I don't want to say most of us, but I know that I personally feel as though I was teaching my kids wrong. I feel like I was, taking a very passive approach where it's like, okay, mom's in the house, you know, she's got it, she's doing the thing, I'm going to go to work, dad works, you know, mom's chilling, hanging, whatever. Okay, your school, take care of your education, great, awesome, don't got to do that. And then also, I wasn't in control of my energy and all that stuff, which I've talked about in the previous, video. But I was taking a very passive approach, unfortunately for them. And I would constantly hear, Dad, I just want to hang out. Dad, you got to go to work now. Dad, oh. And I kind of took this kind of like, gotta go, gotta go. And don't get me wrong, I leave the house almost every single day and go to work and do the thing. They expect that. But once I listened to this book about love languages and learned how to actually love them in the way that the capacity that they want to be loved, because this book's actually for like your marriage, but the love languages are the same. By the way, I'm words of affirmation and physical touch. So like, if you ever want to make me feel good, like, just be like, gas me up and like give me good words. Facts and truth. Look, my kids, a good bit of them have physical touch, quality time, stuff like that. A lot of times I think this comes from the lack of, right? So for instance, physical touch, very much probably didn't have like much of that as a kid. And then words of affirmation, I probably was always being told like, why didn't you do this? The house looks a wreck. You suck, you're stupid, you're this, you're black, you're like, you just like, so words of affirmation, it would make sense because of the trauma. A lot of times I think this probably comes from trauma, that our love language is probably the opposite of what we got. But as far as growth mindset with our kids, if you are the example, if you are the person that's like, hey, look, life is crazy. Like, you're more rich than dad right now. Did you know that? And then I had this conversation with them. They're like, what the fuck are you talking about? They're like, Dad, what do you mean? Like, you have time, okay? Dad is 35. You're 9, you're 10, whatever I was talking to Eden King. Let's just say 10 right now, so it makes the math easy. You have 25 more years than me. You know how many days are in a year? 365. So 365 times 25. Hold on, I'll do the quick math. 365 times 25, 25. You have 9,125 more days than me right now. And then let's just break this into hours times 24. You have 219,000 hours more than me. And remember, time is money. They have that much more money than me in a sense of the time, the money. Like that, a lot of times we don't teach our kids early. They get to 18 and then we're like, okay, figure it out. At least I find like that feels like what happened to me. Figure it out, you got this. But I could teach them for the next fucking 8-10 years. Every day, dad class. All the things that I'm learning today, I can pass on to them tomorrow. Every single day, that continuous loop. So they get, and they, don't get me wrong, they're their own individuals. They might not take all the shit in. They might not take all the stuff in. But at least, as soon as I get the education, and remember, I'm learning like 5-10 books a day. I'm listening to. As soon as I get the education, I pass this on to my 5-year-old. Look, I'm passing it on. I'll try to like simplify it a little bit, but I don't think that the age that you're immune to learning the lessons of life, about finances, about relationships, about growth mindset, all that stuff. Let's stop treating our kids like babies. Like, let's treat them like they're beautiful, intelligent beings, because they are. They're super intelligent. So, like, as we pass all this on, and when they get to 18, they're going to have a massive head start, right? So, massive head start. Because every day I'm showing up saying, like, let's do dad class. Let's make it happen. I'm doing dad class, which is me giving them education. And then they get educated in school. Great, cool. And then they have focused, good time with dad. Like, let's, we'll rotate between, like, group sessions and one-on-one sessions because I have so many kids. But, these are the things in business, too, where having a growth mindset, when you see a problem, you're able to solve a problem versus like seeing a problem, you're like, oh, I guess this is the problem, and you don't do anything about it. So educate our kids. I think that's probably the best way we can give our kids a growth mindset, is showing up every day and saying it's mom class or it's dad class, and legit treating it as a class. Like on the way to school, that's what we do. On the way home, that's what we do. After we're out of the car, great, whatever. But like, bro, class starts when we get in this motherfucking car. Let's go. Let's go. Anyways, I think that's all really on the growth mindset. As far as me dying, right, my biggest fear, I worried that they wouldn't be able to survive. But I've solved that by giving them the education that they need. Not just that, but also reducing our burn rate. I'll take 2 seconds to talk about burn rate because we don't have enough time in this video. I'll talk probably more in a later video. But burn rate just is simply how much does it cost for you to live every single month, right? So right now, our burn rate is $3,000, okay? So let's say that if I make $3,000 a month, my burn rate is 100% of my income. That is bad. That's not good. Ideally, you want your burn rate to maybe be about 50% of what you make, right? So if your burn rate is $2,000 a month, you want to be making $4,000 a month. If your burn rate is $3,000 a month, you may want to be making $6,000. Now you can get ahead, do all that stuff like where you're at 9,000. Like we can just go up and up and up, whatever. The idea is that when you have a good burn rate that's half of your income, it means that anytime that you want to take a day off for financial freedom, you can. You're like, hey, because every day that you work, every day, like let's just say that you're making $6,000 a month. That means roughly you're making $200 a day if you work 30 days, whatever. So every day you're pretty much making 2 days worth of work. Well, if you made $300, you're making 3 days worth of work. So I mean, you can take a day off when you need to take the day off with the kids and give them the time that they need for yourself, all that stuff. And I think that's really important when it comes to creating security for your family. Instead of you being gone and missing and working, having a crazy high income because you're working crazy hours, reduce your expenses so that your burn rate is low. That's the way you get out of the rat race. Most people upgrade their lifestyle. They get a raise and they upgrade and upgrade and upgrade. I know because I did this. It's very hard to come down from a lifestyle that you've been living and downgrade your lifestyle. But it is one of the most important things you can do for your family. Okay? Right now I follow the ratio of 50% fixed cost, 40% savings / investments, just depending on where you're at in your track, and 10% guilt-free. Okay? That's the way that we can build wealth. You know, there's a lot of other ratios out there, like the 50% fixed cost, 30% wants, and 20% savings. I disagree with this one because it encourages you to live an 80% burn rate lifestyle, and you only have 20%. So it's much harder. When your family gets used to spending 80% of their money, 80% of the money, and then you have a rough month, or maybe you as you're self-employed, you need to take time and all that stuff, and you need to take a sick day. Now you feel like you're on this treadmill of just running and running and running and never keep up. But if our fixed costs are 50%, like I said, our guilt-free's at 10%, so it's really 60%, that's much easier to deal with because you still have 40% that's going to savings every single day that you make money. And as far as growth mindset goes, not being stressed the fuck out and putting that on your kids and vice versa, like, it's all synonymous. When you need to take a day for recovery, you deserve a day for recovery. When you need to take a day because you're sick as shit, you deserve to have that day. But that only comes if you're not running the treadmill of life and your burn rate is low. All right. And we can pass this on to our kids. All right. I hope you guys, also in business, same thing. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Thanks for chilling with me. Like, again, if you love videos like this, press that subscribe button. Just boom, boom. Like, look, it just like exploded on the screen because you pressed the button. It only happens, like, it only explodes if you press the button. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. It's time for income generation. This is asset generation that we're doing right here. But I hope you guys have the best time. Educate your kids. Give them what you know right now, tomorrow. Every single day you learn, give them those lessons. Help them understand. Another video popping up on your screen right now that's just like this. Keep it going. Listen to me while you are working. We can do this. Let's get it done, parents. Let's make it happen. Take care, guys. Bye.